Okay, sir, go ahead.
Rajnish, go ahead.
Rajnish, go ahead. Session is live now. Mr. Rajnish, go ahead. Session is live now.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to SOCM GEM's very special program today. My name is Rajnish Agrawal. Though I am an engineering consultant by profession, but I am taking the position of the chairman of events, webinars, and expo at SOCM GEM. And all throughout this lockdown, we probably were been very, very busy. This is our 38th webinar in the series in the last, and majority of them have happened in the last 4 or 5 months. We have engaged with almost 60,000 people in the last 4 months on variety of topics. The topic which we have today for the forum is one of the most important topics which we have planned for this event, energy performance contracting, and what it has in store for us, how it can help us to go ahead and come out of the economic crisis fear might happen after the lockdown. And for this, we have, I think, one of the best panels gathered. We have worked very hard for this event, and thank you everybody for joining in and making this event successful today. I'm seeing that almost 300 people are there with us live, and probably more people are going to join in. Normally, our events are attended by almost 700-800 people. And I think some people could be in the transit and joining us soon. Welcome everybody for this wonderful session that we have. We'll try to keep our introductions as brief as possible. I would like to now welcome Mr. Dharkar. Mr. Dharkar is one of the well-known consultants of the country, and he is the person behind SOCM GEM. He's the founding chairman of this body, and Mr. Dharkar has almost 4 decades of work experience behind him. He has been doing 4,000 projects he has done in various segments such as healthcare, pharmaceutical, education, shopping malls, software, biotech parks, etc., etc. Mr. Dharkar has held quite a few interesting positions in associations, including country, where both fire and security shall be evaluated for buildings, and the buildings will be given a certification for the same. He has also been a member of several other societies such as ACCREDITATION, USGBC, GSCS, IPA, ICRA, NFPA, IAQA, president, of course, of FSI, as I said, and he has well.
Mr. Rajnish, you're not audible. Mr. Dharkar, I think you should take over.
Yeah, thank you. Just share the screen to me. So good evening, everyone. And my special thanks to entire team of panelists and experts who have come forward and supported ASSOCHAM on this evening. Friends, I will just start with a brief introduction with the GEM. And this is something which is very dear to us. GEM is a green and eco-friendly movement which is started by ASSOCHAM. ASSOCHAM is in nation from 1920 with 450,000 members working towards creating a conducive environment of India business compete globally. Our current president being Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, who himself happens to be an eminent personality from built environment, and Vineet Agarwal is our vice president with Balkrishna Goenka ji as immediate past president and Deepak Sood ji as secretary general. I am getting excellent support from all these team members, and that is why GEM is progressing very well. So ASSOCHAM has taken a green initiative to take care of Mother Earth to complement India's sustainability movement. This is a complete guideline which is available. One can download it,
मैंने भेजा
which can be downloaded from the web very easily, and you must go through this. This is a program which is based on ECBC 2017 and NBC 2016, and we do believe that these are two beautiful documents and important documents which India has provided to globe. And the program includes sustainability, energy and water efficiency, more green areas, indoor air quality, daylight, fresh air, and human comfort. And of course, one very important component which is very unique to our certification program, where we have added to fire and life safety as an important component of our certification process. Friends, the GEM 1 to GEM 5 starts from 40 to 49 point to 105, GEM 5 being the best. And the important thing post-COVID, we are also going to add on the infection-free environment special credits. Currently it covers housing, urban development, residential, colleges, universities, factories, and the healthcare and warehousing is two domains which we are going to add. And today we are going to discuss how existing buildings, which may not be certified, but how the energy efficiency can be brought post-COVID to it with ESCO model, and how do we bring them also under the green certification criteria. Friends, the program by GEM is very affordable. We do believe that every building which is certified can bring the payback within 3 to 4 years. And this is something which we believe that best thing can happen to the green footprint of the country. Friends, this is the only program which gives you a 24/7 monitoring. Our command center based in Delhi is monitoring the power consumption, the indoor air quality, and the water consumption of the buildings. And we are also giving additional service for life and fire. Any detection signal being noticed, we are giving feedback to the local fire officer. And we do believe that the current situation, the innovations and research can happen only with the data. And that is where India is lacking. And this is what we want to ensure, that in 20,000 rupees or less, we are able to give this basic information, which will be useful for the future architects, future engineers, and take our buildings to the next level in terms of envelope and energy efficiency. We are currently, and you can witness today, the ISCRE president himself with us. We are having a with various ASHRAE chapters, the Indoor Air Quality Association, the Indian Society of Lighting Engineers, and very importantly, the GACS, the secretary of GACS is also present in this panel. The people who are doing the facility management services in the country, more than 4,500. Smart Habitat Foundation, which deals with, which has several eminent architects in here, and Fire and Security Association. So we are moving forward with various societies, and that is what has been our success in this time. Friends, each building which gets certified are proud to display these certificates and plank which all certified buildings get. You can see here the pharmaceutical projects from Abbott to a large cement factory as JK to Siemens, and various university with reputed hotels and luxury brands of ITCs and Hilton are currently certified by GEM certification project. In last 1 year, we did several programs across the country, including the launch of our Punjab, Rajasthan, Gujarat chapter. In this digital COVID period, we installed chapters of UP, West Bengal, Karnataka, and several central ministers and even deputy chief ministers of the state supported this cause. Friends, we are now present across the country, and soon on 5th September, we are launching our Maharashtra chapter. We will be going further. We did very important program with ISCRE, with GACS, with EMA, with FSAI, where post-lockdown the guidelines were issued. This was the first global guidelines which came up, and we are indeed proud of this. This went to 29 states of the country and 6 union territories. where we have given indication how air conditioning, fire, ELV services, which are very important, how to restart it. And there were several hundreds of large projects which suddenly got stopped, and we have seen some nasty accidents in Vizag and other parts of the country. So this is a very important step which ASSOCHAM take with various other societies. Several programs, as Rajnish said, happened during this lockdown. The list goes enormous, and as he said, close to 60,000 people are registered and more than 30,000 people attended to this program of various interests. Of course, today's program is extremely special, but what we are also doing simultaneously is reaching out to young minds and architectural and engineering colleges. We have a mission of 100. We want to go to reach to 100 universities by end of December. And I'm very glad to put on record that 25 universities, we have already signed the MOUs and doing several programs for them every week. And this is what we feel, that the young minds, if they are tuned to sustainability and energy aspect, they will be the future for our country to bring down the energy. Friends, coming back to today's subject, the energy demand has doubled in India in recent year from 2000 to 2017, and energy efficiency improvement since 2000 prevented only 6% of the additional energy use. However, under the efficient world scenario, the increase could be implemented to just 82% between now and 2040. And the main areas where it can come is from industry and building, followed by transport sector. So we all today, most of us from building segment, have a very important role to play in coming years. The ESCO model, which we will be talking about, is energy services companies are comprises that can deliver projects that can be financed based on energy saving, and this ESCO can offer energy services, design retrofitting, energy audits, energy infrastructure, power generation, can provide guaranteed savings, risk management implementation. Several aspects of ESCO will be discussed today. This is just beginning. Today's program is a kickstart, and today we are focusing on air conditioning because we do believe 40 to 60% energy gets consumed in built environment because of air conditioning. But sooner we are going to come with IBMS industry, with electrical industry, with lighting industry, and such sessions will be conducted over a period of time. And we promise that we will bring best of the leaders. Like today we are blessed with leaders from air conditioning industry. We have Mr. Java, Mr. Bapat, Mr. Chirag Bejal from Carrier, Daikin, and JCI, the top companies of the world and top companies of India. Here we will ensure that on lighting, electrical front also we have the top leaders. Friends, ESCO are typically a small branch of larger engineering firm, and we do believe that this needs to, and you can see the names here which I put, but through this forum we will like to ensure that this get percolated to MSMEs, and they can do a wonderful contribution to this. Friends, the breakdown of ESCO models for India, and you can see here, we are there in the world, but we are still in the infant stage. You can see here that the market grew by 8%. China continues to grow by 11%, but we are nowhere there as in India. The majority of Asian market ESCO activities is within the industry segment, the largest share due to favorable policies and measures of incentives. So ESCO, this is something area which we want to really discuss today. If you see the breakup of ESCO in public versus private, you can see here 1% public and 99%. We want to understand why this is happening. Friends, there are notable differences in ESCO markets between the countries and regions, and on average, ESCO projects are delivering energy saving of 25% and above, and wherever they can be contract times. Use things to learn. Just to consolidate, India energy use is expected to be more than double by 2040 as per IEA report. The building sector specs cooling demand could be quadruplicated. It can go 4 times by 2040. Hence, energy efficiency will be a crucial in sustainable growth of country. And one of the most important ways to realize energy efficiency potential is through energy saving performance contracting, which is our today's topic. But India's ESCO industry is relatively nascent because of lack of strong policy, level push, and limited awareness. Friends, I was astonished when I was preparing for this presentation, that India's market is estimated worth 1,50,000 crores, out of which we have just reached 5% of the potential is tapped as of now. So you can imagine what it can bring to the store post-COVID and also in coming years. So significant energy efficiency potential is still left untapped in India. Hence, societies like ASSOCHAM and ISCRE should come together with BE and ESL and work towards a common goal. So ASSOCHAM can help mission of BE and ESL to reach through lakhs of its MSMEs members through GEM certification program and create huge awareness among all stakeholders. So friends, once again, thank you all of you for joining us today. We had close to 2,000 registration, and I will urge that this is just beginning and we will like to conduct many more seminars in future. Thank you so much. We will definitely like to take forward the Prime Minister's mission of sustainability. Thank you so much. So coming back, I think we are starting our session with Dr. Ashok Sarkar. Can I have his slide? So Dr. Ashok Sarkar is a senior energy specialist and task team lead. He heads for Middle East, GCC and Southeast Asian region, energy and executive global practices, World Bank, Washington, DC, and you are joining us early morning. Thanks for taking this trouble. Dr. Ashok Sarkar is senior energy specialist, team leader of energy efficiency operations in several countries at World Bank, energy and extra activities of global practices. During his professional career spanning 25 years, Dr. Sarkar has led and participated in clean energy operations of more than 40 countries, valued cumulatively for $2.5 billion. At present, in 2020, he is involved in energy efficiency, solar PV, electric mobility, and sustainable cooling projects in Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Yemen, India, Bangladesh. He was a member of CDM Path panel of UNFCCC. By the way, my daughter works for UNFCCC now in Germany, and chair of UNAP's Global Expert Task Force on LED lighting. Welcome, Mr. Ashok Sarkar. Floor is yours.
Unmute yourself, sir. Yeah. You are the presenter.
Yes. Can you see what I am showing?
Yes, sir.
Done.
Yes. Just make it slide.
Is it better?
Done, sir.
You can see it, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you very much again, and good morning, good evening to everybody. It's a relatively hot morning here in Washington, DC. So what Mr. Darkar was saying is quite relevant even in countries like the United States, where some parts of the country does get very, very hot during some of the months of this of the year. But again, really humbled to be in a panel with the very well-known experts and leaders in this field. And I would really, again, like to thank ASSOCHAM, the Green Building Program, as well as ISCRE for inviting the World Bank to be a part of this journey to discuss about the potential for ESCO and EPC in India, particularly in the post-COVID environment. And again, I heard from Mr. Arora yesterday that GEM completed 2 years of your work. So congratulations for a wonderful green buildings rating program, which can, I hope, be replicated and have a huge impact. So I think Mr. Dharkar said a lot of good background, and I have very similar things to say, but I'm going to focus a little bit more on, what is the current context. The context, of course, as you can see, we are showing the same kind of picture and the same numbers. Mr. Dharkar mentioned about the huge potential which runs into 150 in terms of billions of dollars. Also, it is roughly 150 to 170 billion dollars of energy resource, the first fuel which is not being tapped. to the fullest extent in not only in India, but many other countries around the world. We see the benefit of energy efficiency, of course, is that it's cheaper than adding a new megawatt. Even with the cheapest solar, when you compare, energy efficiency comes out relatively with a lot more benefits as the first fuel. And in the current context of the post-COVID recovery, energy efficiency has even more benefits. The same benefits get multiplied. Now, when you talk about consumer energy bills, we have been seeing reports of from India and other countries about how the residential energy consumption has gone up, and the electricity bills are shooting up because people are spending more time at homes, and they're ending up paying higher amounts for electricity than they used to pay before COVID started. So if you take those micro level situations and ecosystems, even there, energy efficiency can come to the rescue. At a higher, broader level, it of course helps creates jobs and creates competitiveness, which should be which is the part of the economic recovery of MSMEs, particularly in India, where many MSMEs have huge amounts of this potential which remains untapped. And by providing the right policies and the right financing and the right mechanisms, particularly through the ESCO umbrella or the ESCO approaches, you can have these MSMEs save a lot of expenditure on energy and thereby becoming more competitive and being able to survive through the crisis. And of course, there are GHG benefits and air pollution benefits, which we are not going to go through as you're all familiar with. But I just pulled out yesterday a report which I was reading from McKinsey, which actually, as a part of our work we are doing for tying the generation of jobs with energy efficiency around the world. We are doing some modeling for certain regions of the world, particularly the Middle East region where I work a lot. And what we find, the McKinsey analysis, which is quite separate analysis, clearly shows that energy efficiency has a much more bigger value proposition when it comes to jobs. And jobs is a very important fact of life after COVID. It was important even before COVID started, but it became more important now. And these numbers which you see, and again, we don't want to go into the detail, gives a stark, big difference between what you mentioned in the building sector in India, for instance. If you are doing retrofits of buildings of energy efficiency, the proposition of the jobs in this table, which is on the right-hand side, the number of jobs are much, much higher. You're talking about jobs per million or per $1 billion of investment in an ideal, typical country. And it applies to India and other countries as well. Maybe the numbers would have to be adjusted a little bit, but the directions are showing that there is a lot more beyond just saving energy and money. You can really help recover the economy through creating more opportunities for MSMEs, more opportunities for jobs, and I think, of course, helping the environment in the long run, which is, again, remains the objective. So you can really achieve both economic and environmental priorities by this. Now, it is a difficult proposition, though. As all of us know, energy efficiency, when it comes to comparison of supply side options like big power plants, has always faced barriers. There are high transaction costs. The projects are very small. This picture I'm trying to show is that it's not like you do a project like a solar power plant and big investment in millions of dollars and you're done with it. You're really trying to do very small investments, and the difference between the dollar bill and the pennies is to really show that it is not easy when you have smaller investments. How do you aggregate them? How do you bring down the transaction costs? How do you make it standardized so that you don't have to repeat the same documentation, which is to repeat for big projects? And there are solutions, and ESCOs is one of the solutions. I mean, it is not the only solution. What we see from our experience in various countries, which we have been doing work for the past 4 or 5 decades of energy efficiency work. In the last decade, for instance, On an average, we did from 1 billion to $1.5 billion of energy efficiency lending to various countries around the world. Demand side energy efficiency is a part of that lending as well. And what we have found is that you really have to have the building blocks in place, which Mr. Dharkar also mentioned. You have to have the policies and regulations, you have to have the institutions, information and awareness is very important, technical capacity, which of course India doesn't lack at all, is very important, but it is a problem in many other countries, what we have seen. And financing, which is the right-hand side petal, shows is one of the biggest challenges which we are facing. So India, for example, I put a double check mark in the first two petals for obvious reasons. We have the stalwarts present today, ESL, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Ministry of Power, and I think they'll be speaking later. You will hear from them that the policy and regulatory framework and the institutional framework is very robust in India. But the challenge is really with the financing. And how do you make sure that this financing and technical capacity are going together in tandem? India has a lot of technical capacity. We have a lot of ESCOs, we have a lot of technical consultants, but they don't necessarily have the financial bandwidth to do all the projects. So I think the combination of enhancing technical capacity by providing financial support is where the direction should be in the future. And ESCOs, again, we don't want to go into the details of how the ESCOs work, but there could be a shared savings model or a guaranteed savings model where the end user, which could be a building owner or an industry, taking the loan but bringing in ESCO on as a technical consultant and working through the energy service savings performance contract, or what we call the EPC, what is the title of the seminar, or they are sometimes called the energy service agreements. So whatever you call it, it's the agreement between the ESCO and the end user which really makes the deal work and paid through savings. Similarly, if the ESCO was the borrower from the financial institution, the savings could be even higher. The shared amount could be even higher because ESCO is taking the risks. Now, therefore, the key transaction templates, which is the savings contract or the EPC, and the measurement and verification of savings is an important aspect of this market development. Unless you standardize these contracts or these templates or these mechanisms, it is very difficult to cut down the transaction costs of such projects, because such projects are not big, hundreds of $1 million projects. They're smaller projects. And therefore, we need a lot of standardization. The challenges which ESCOs face, I think we'll hear later on. I don't want to go into the details. But again, Mr. Dharkar showed it. The performance of India has not that been great in ESCO market around the world. I don't want to repeat what Mr. Dharkar said from the graph which he was showing. India's has been after ESCO development for almost 3 decades, since 1990s. But we don't have enough number of ESCO projects to show, which is an irony compared to countries like the United States, which our colleague from NESCO is going to talk about. We have the Chinese market, we have the Japanese market, the Korean market, which are doing far better in terms of ESCO projects and shared savings and guaranteed savings projects compared to India. Now, in India, I'm going to spend the last part of my presentation is showing 2 interventions which we have been involved with as a World Bank, which provides technical assistance and financial assistance to countries to develop such new ideas and innovative ideas. One of them is what we call the Partial Risk Sharing Facility, PRSF project, which is basically looking into the ESCO ecosystem in India. So what we mentioned, ESCOs cannot access finance, and therefore we need to do something there. ESCOs sometimes do not have, or the banks which lend to ESCOs do not have access to standardized and legal documents. They have to do it every time they do a project. Reliable payment mechanisms. I have many friends in the ESCO industry in India. Many of them often tell me that clients don't even pay them sometimes, even after savings have been achieved. So how can they take a risk of getting into this business where they do the work, but they're not getting paid. So reliable payment mechanism is one of the issues in the ecosystem. And of course, many ESCOs do not necessarily have the best technical capabilities. There are 130 ESCOs, or right now it may be 150 ESCOs registered with the Bureau, but you can see even the Bureau of Energy Efficiency has a gradation for ESCOs, which means not all of them are in the top tier. So they need some capacity building, some technical enhancement, which will make them more amenable to municipalities, to building owners, to commercial clients who would believe in their technical capabilities. So our PRSF project really was designed to meet the barriers which remains in this ecosystem through different interventions which are in these green and blue boxes. And I think the next slide will show what we have done is we have put in $37 million of money from Clean Technology Fund and from GEF into a facility which is managed by SIDBI, and along with help from EESL, of course. They are putting out this fund as a guarantee facility, which means if you go down to the bottom, ESCOs and municipalities and large industries, MSMEs, when they come up with a project and they go to a loan a lender, they can have that loan guaranteed by this facility. Why? Because that will then enhance their ability to borrow that loan from that bank. Banks usually would not give them money as easily. Therefore, this guarantee facility comes to that rescue. So that's the essential, I would say, principle behind this PRSF project. We can go into the details, but we don't have enough time. We have this sheet, this slide showing there are 10 banks, actually 9 banks right now, because Union Bank has been formed after Andhra and Corporation Bank were sort of, restructured. So we have 9 banks which are participating in PRSF projects. And these are the biggest banks, like State Bank of India, one of the biggest banks in the world, if you think about it. So we are trying to use that platform of banking to help the ESCO projects through what we call a PRSF Master Guarantee Agreement, which is done between SIDBI as the PRSF facility manager with these banks to follow the operational guidelines and manual which are there available for supporting ESCO projects in India. And what has happened? We have been really able to do a lot of the projects, and this shows another aspect of the project, which is to leverage private sector. So it's not that this facility would pay for the entire cost of the project. Some has to be chipped in as an equity by the ESCO. It has to come as a private sector financing. And at the end, we want leverage. We do not want the $37 million to only provide $37 million of ESCO project. The expected mobilization is over $135 million over a 10-year period by using that small amount of $35 million. And so far, the performance has been, I would say, quite modest. It has not been very exciting in that sense that there are huge numbers. But in terms of the experience, this is very valuable. So if you look at this, PRSF has supported 24 projects so far in lighting, of course, water pumping, waste heat recovery, VFDs, air conditioning, which was mentioned a little bit earlier and has been mentioned over and over again. And we are going to hear from our colleagues from the HVAC industry, of course, later on. And the clients are municipalities, hospitals, hotels, etc. And these are the ESCOs which are participating. And this is the number that $13 million of guarantees have been provided to leverage almost $48 million of project. So that was the interesting part of this PRSF experience, where smaller amount of money could be used to trigger the ESCO industry to grow and capture an even larger part of the market. And PRSF website actually has a lot of details. I don't want to go into this, but if you go to this website, you will find that anything which is available here actually can be applied to anywhere in the world, to be very frank, because you have the templates of EPCs, ESPCs, measurement and verification protocol. Everything is available at this website, which can be replicated for ESCO projects in India. Right now, we are working with ESL, and Mr. Garnaik, I believe, is going to talk about ESL, so I don't want to go into too much of detail. But this is the other intervention which we have with ESL, where ESL is a public super ESCO. They have an objective of working with public projects, but bringing in a lot of private ESCOs in the fold to help deliver these projects through an ESCO mode. So what ESL is doing is demand aggregation, financing, standardization, and private ESCO support, and we'll hear from Mr. Garnaik. But here is what I wanted to show, that we have a current engagement with ESL where we have provided, as you can see, ESL's itself is a very big public super ESCO. They have an investment program over a 5-year period which runs into $5 billion. And it's not just energy efficiency, but it includes energy efficiency, but also smart meters, distributed solar, electric vehicles, etc. We have been engaged with ESL for almost 4 years, 5 years since the beginning through analytics, policy support, knowledge exchange, etc. But we provided this $220 million financing 2 years ago to help some of these ESL activities. And interestingly, we are now trying to develop an approach where ESL can be brought into the PRSF fold, where actually ESL is able to bring in the private ESCOs through ESPCs to help grow, let the private ESCO industry grow even further. And again, this is a work in progress, so we don't want to talk too much about it, but that's the ultimate objective of this work, where the boundaries between a public ESCO and a private ESCOs will be bridged even more, and which can, in the end, help the private industry grow even further through the help of ESL. Key lessons, this is my last slide, is really we have a very good policy ecosystem. It is actually comparable to anywhere in the world. Bureau of Energy Efficiency is considered one of the leaders of such policy development around the world. Implementation is going well. Of course, it can be strengthened, and we'll hear from Mr. Bakre, of course, later on. But intermediaries like SIDBI, ESL, along with Bureau, can really help the ESCO market grow. The potential for ESCO model can be strengthened by standardization. Standardization is the key. You have to have models demonstrated, standardized, so that the transaction cost of ESCO transactions are not prohibitive, because that is the biggest barrier which ESCO industries are facing, in addition to lack of access to finance. Technical assistance has to be provided to unlock this. And of course, we are competing with other financing demands. So banks have to be brought in, and communication and stakeholder awareness has to be a continuous activity, where even those 9 banks which I showed, including SBI, day before yesterday, we had a pan-India SBI officers training on PRSF. So those kind of, we had 50 officers from State Bank of India from all over India who attended the training. So only on ESCOs, and I think that's the kind of push we need to give us as development institutions, along with the Bureau, along with ESL, SIDBI, and others. What we have found in our work is shared savings is emerging as a more popular model compared to guaranteed savings model, which is good because it allows the ESCOs to build a track record of accessing commercial financing. Because only in shared savings, as we said, ESCOs are taking the credit risk. In a guaranteed savings model, ESCOs do not take the credit risk, they only take the technical risk. So I think the more they take the credit risk, they will have more access to commercial financing in the future. So it's a good thing which is happening, which you are finding out of the 24 projects in PRSF, a majority of them are shared savings projects. And finally, us and public sector institutions and the financing which we give really should be aimed at unlocking the private ESCO market and mobilizing the capital from the private market, because that number which Mr. Dharkar had showed, or I had shown, of over what was that 1,50,000 crores of rupees of investment cannot come only from public sector. That money is in the private sector. How do you unlock that money to flow into the business? is where the public money and the financing from development institutions like ours or climate financing should be aimed at. And that's what we are doing through PRSF and our ESL interventions. So that's all from my side. And again, thanks for the patience. And I really, again, would like to congratulate ASSOCHAM for convening this very good panel at a very important time. And I hope this effort will continue. This is not a one-off event. And also I hope that we will be able to help scale up the ESCO investments at the end. That 150,000 or 150,000 crores is a lot of funding, a lot of money. And activities like ours and collective efforts can help unlock that. And let's work together. And I'm all here for later session as well as Q&A later on. Thank you once again.
Behind the time, but my request to our next speaker, Chinmoy, to just make it up a bit because Mr. Bakre and Vernaik ji is also here. Welcome to both of you, sir. Thank you very much for supporting this evening. So let me introduce Mr. Chinmoy. He is the Executive Director of National Association of Energy Saving Companies, NESCO. In this role, he manages the representation of member of energy service companies. Dr. Unrao coordinates with DOE, National Laboratories, and other federal agencies in his capacity, and he has a doctorate, master's, and bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from Wichita State University of Wichita, Kansas. So welcome to you, sir, and once again, good morning to you. Thank you for waking up early and joining us this evening in India.
Morning. It's great to be able to present to an international audience without having to endure a long plane ride. But at the same time, seeing everyone in person is also very nice. So I do miss that. And Dr. Sarkar, thanks for a really informative presentation from the World Bank. That was really fascinating to hear. You made a comment how ESCO wasn't the only model that we could use to implement energy efficiency, but as a representative from the National Association of Energy Service Companies, I'm going to say it's the best model. So let's go ahead and start out here since it looks like we are running a little bit short on time today. The National Association of Energy Service Companies, or NAESCO, who we like to call ourselves, we're a nonprofit trade association advocating for energy service company market in the United States. We've been around since 1983, and we have 101 members, about 47 ESCOs and 50 some odd affiliates that work for energy service companies. And we also have the only ESCO accreditation in the United States, which I'll talk about later, a very important part of our process. We do have 32 accredited ESCOs and affiliates today. And in the United States, the ESCO industry runs somewhere between $7 and $8 billion per year. So when we talk about energy service performance contracts, or EPCs, energy performance contracts, it's just good to understand the nomenclature. EPC is what I'm calling them in this particular presentation. Sometimes they're called ESPC, energy savings performance contracts. Sometimes in the United States they're called GESP, guaranteed energy savings performance contracts. And you'll see that different markets in the United States will call them different things. Energy service company is the type of company that does EPCs, and measurement and verification is a key aspect of the process. In the United States, the laws are such that the only way you can do these is if you have special legislation for public buildings to move forward. And those public buildings need to have effectively a trade-off that says if we can go into this financial arrangement, we have to have offsetting savings such that the taxpayer doesn't pay any more or less based on this project because the savings covers the cost. Measurement and verification is a process that assures us that that process occurs. There's an organization called EVO that certifies measurement and verification professionals, and I checked the website this morning. There's over 100 certified EVO measurement and verification professionals in India. And so one of the things you have is you have a vast set of resources that can help have projects established and assure that you have a consistent baseline and understanding of the savings and how you'll measure and verify those savings. The process that we go through for a performance contract is you have a set of costs beforehand. You install new equipment that will reduce the cost. And it's key to understand that the cost reduction is not just energy, but it's also going to be operational or related savings. So that energy plus operational savings results in a total savings that can be used to fund the retrofits. And then every year you validate that the savings has occurred through measurement and verification. And then that savings is paid back to the energy service company, or in most cases in the United States, it's paid directly to the financial institution, which often the borrower or the owner of the building has a direct relationship with the financial institution. So this is an interesting chart. One of our national laboratories, Lawrence Berkeley National Labs, out in California, does research on a regular basis that analyzes the energy service company market in the United States. As part of that process, they put out various reports that describe what the market looks like. We're in the process at ESCO of putting together another survey that should probably come out either later this year or early next year that will tell us what the market looks like from a new perspective. But if you look at our market in the United States, there was a chart earlier, I think, that was shown by one of the other presenters that showed in the United States, most of the performance contracting or energy savings performance contracts or EPCs is being done for public buildings. So if you look at the bars and the market segment, federal government is public buildings. Healthcare can be a mix of public and private buildings. K through 12 schools or our kindergarten through 12th grade schools. Private buildings are very small. If you look at that, that's a very small portion on the charts. State and local government are very large, university and colleges. So most of our work is done at public buildings. I show this map and I show the different colors because in the United States, each state is required to have enabling legislation or legislation that has been passed by the authorities that says you can do energy savings performance contracting. What's interesting about this is that probably much like India, in the United States, each state operates independent of other states. So what that means is that the rules that govern how you do performance contracting, the process that's followed, the forms you complete, even the terms you use to describe the stages of a project development cycle are all different in each of the states. We do work to have some consistency. We have a sister association called the Energy Services Coalition, and the Energy Services Coalition has helped to make a set of standardized contracts. Our U.S. Department of Energy also maintains a set of standardized contracts for energy savings performance contracts that could be adopted by anyone. There are a detailed set of documents that allows us to have some sort of a structure that's preset in place for those that are new to the process, which are many of the operators. When you look across the United States, you can see based on the colors of the map that implementation levels is quite different. My home state of Kansas, the purple one right in the middle, is one of the states that's implemented performance contracting very well. And that was because we had a leader in the state government that said this was important. And I want to stress the reason I bring that out is having a leadership person say this is important and get behind it and stress to all those below that it's important to happen makes a big difference. And what do we install in the United States? So energy performance contracts install a whole range of energy conservation measures or ECMs. When we do most of our work, as you can see, controls and lighting dominate the process. And the reason for that is controls and lighting are often large energy component savers. And what that means is those two items will throw off excess savings. What that means is that when you have a measure that has more savings than is needed to pay for it, it helps to cover the cost of other measures. So for example, when you get down lower in the chart, things such as building envelope, those savings often don't have enough savings to cover the cost of implementation, or they come close, and so maybe another measure will help cover that. And so in the United States, we look at a whole project of all the savings to cover all the costs, as opposed to each single item has to have a payback that covers itself. By doing that in the United States, we're able to have larger projects. So in the federal government, our largest, one of the largest users of performance contracting, the federal government's average project size is $25 million US. Whereas when you get down into the smaller governments and the state and local level, you'll see that the size of the projects get a little bit lower. Accreditation is a key process that we have in the United States to help assure that we have a solid set of energy service companies that are really going to do the top level work. When we certify an energy service company, we do a financial review. We have their projects submitted to us. We have a committee that will call people at the project. They'll ask how the energy service company performed, how their savings is performing. Are they happy with the project? Was the equipment installed properly? Is it high quality equipment? And we'll also look at legal history review to understand, is that energy service company involved in legal problems that might come back and cause problems in the future? In the end, what we're looking for is to have an energy service company market that is free from litigation and has confidence that the work being done will be quality and have high performance. And then finally, my last slide is, why are they successful? Number one is you have to have a way to allow them. You have to have mature laws and regulations in each market that allow them to occur. You have to have a structure, some way to manage the process so that you know how you go from A to Z. Perform, so you have some sort of way to measure the performance and know that you can install this work properly. Accreditation, we believe, is one of the keys to that. Verify, as I mentioned before, you have many measurement and verification specialists in India that are trained by EVO. And repeat, you want to make sure that you have a process where once you do one, you can go out and have enough confidence to go into the next one, so you have some building of knowledge over time. In the United States, we have an extensive pool of energy service companies that can do that work. I think I heard mentioned worldwide there was 130 ESCOs across the region. That is a significant ability to do the work. You have to have, one of the abilities that we see that makes successful projects is combining budget money with savings. When you take your budget and you combine it with savings, often the two can synergistically work together to create more savings and more project for the overall building that you're trying to retrofit, resulting in a better performing building with more savings. And then finally, one of the things about energy efficiency and energy service companies that we have to recognize is that energy efficiency actually makes the building better. In the times of the COVID issue and the coronavirus coming in and we're trying to occupy buildings, one of the challenges we see is that the changes to buildings that are needed to make them more appropriate for outside people to come in and use them are all around energy consumption, ventilation, filtration, contact tracing, control systems, temperature tracking, lighting systems that can track people. And we want to know where they're at, what they're doing, and who they came in contact with. And we want to clean the air to make sure that it's safe to breathe. Energy service companies are well adept at doing that type of work. Well, that's all I have today. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this back over to our moderator.
Thank you, team. Thank you so much for that input for NASCO. We are going to come back to you with questions later. May I now request Somaiya Prasad Garnaik ji to come forward? Can I have his slide, Amit? So let me introduce sir. He is presently serving as Executive Director and Business Unit Head for EESL, Ministry of Power, Government of India. During his 25 years of professional career, Mr. Garnaik has served in government, bilateral and international organizations at various capacities in the field of energy policy, management, resource conservation. As director in BE during 10 to 13, he managed PAT schemes and standard labeling program of India. At present, he is leading many portfolio in ESCO, handling projects worth 1,500 crores, apart from any other responsibilities. He is a certified energy auditor from BE, Government of India, certified from EVO, International Performance Measurement and Performance Protocol Professionals, and certified lead auditor in ISO 18001. Welcome, sir, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saab. Good evening to all of you from India. It's a pleasure to be here. I hope each and every one of you are keeping well and safe in this very difficult situation. And it's nice to meet virtually in this platform to discuss on a subject which has been very, very important, not only in the present context, but probably since, in going forward also, this is going to be one of the dominant factors in any economic sector of India or even any of the countries. Well, Dr. Sarkar has already highlighted many of the things and the works which have been done and which is going to be predominantly seen by various end users as far as the energy improvements are concerned. I'll be speaking more, in the context of what ESL is doing and how we have really, tried to redefine the ESCO market over the last few years. I think I remember one study which we jointly with World Bank did some time back regarding what is the energy efficiency market in India. And we see that about 15 billion to 20 billion, and that's the market size being estimated in various economic sectors. And if you just see, if I take that as the figure as a baseline and all, so what have we captured so far? Probably it has not gone into my guess. 1.5 to $2 billion. That means the entire market is on tap. Now, coming forward, we see that over the last 10, 15 years, we have seen a radical change in the outlooks of the management of the energy users, whether it is industry, whether it is municipality, whether it is agricultural management authorities, and so on and so forth. So there has been any big, as we are growing, as you know, we are growing economically, and there is a need of the energy from various angles, whether it is electrical energy or the non-electrical energy sources. And what we have seen, the change from supply side management to the demand side management over the years, because it is cheap. The demand side management, where energy efficiency plays a very, very important role, as you understand it very clearly. It is cheap as compared to demand supply side interventions. At the same time, also, it creates a lot of job opportunities in the entire supply chain or entire intervention ecosystem, if you see. So it brings a lot of value additions to the things, and thanks that there have been a lot of interventions and the policy push from Bureau of Energy Efficiency ever since the Energy Conservation Act came into force in 2002. So what we have seen, we have seen a perennial problem in this entire thing. We see a market, large market. We see an institutional mechanism in the form of Bureau of Energy Efficiency or state designated agencies, the test laboratories, Bureau of Indian Standards, who are contributing directly, indirectly to the energy efficiency system. But and there is a need to capture the entire market. So if you just see, it is entirely a green field. Then why are we lagging? The lagging is what I believe is that there are 2 points here. Nobody wants to take a technological risk, even when we talk about energy efficiency. Energy efficiency comes with a new technological interventions. It is energy efficient, so there is a more technological intervention to it, and precisely it will be definitely a costly affair. Any energy end user, as you understand, they may be knowing that, okay, this will save about 20 to 25% of the energy, but it is highly costly. So one way, there are 2 important risks which are coming into picture. One is the technical risk nobody wants to take initially. The second one is the financial risk. Nobody wants to put money on that. So then where we are actually heading, where we are going ahead in this direction. We tried this ever since ESL came into existence, and more of the programs were designed from 2014-15 onwards. We saw that the typical energy performance contracting or the ESCO model will not work in India unless otherwise there are specific addresses to it. Specific addresses means we must have to have a monitoring and verification protocol in place. We must have to have the people or the cadre of professionals who will be doing or adopting those protocols. And there have been instrumentation systems. So all these things also brings a cost to the entire program. So if we be in the absence of all these things, then probably nobody is coming forward to put their money, invest in the projects, and so on and so forth. So that is where it is a struggling factor for a typical ESCO company or a ESCO market. We tried to do it in a different way. We said that forget about the monitoring and verification or the guaranteed saving model, because there is no protocol, neither the investor nor the end user will be agreeing on what is being put on the table. So what we are actually trying to develop here is a deemed saving approach, where both sides agree on the percentage of the energy saving based on the interventions of the or in the solutions. Take the case of the street lighting project, which we are doing or did in more than 1,600 municipalities. It is not a very smooth program, although it has its own challenges in the background. But yes, how it has actually captured the market in a very quicker time is that it saves about 40 to 50% energy saving. Now the point is that who certifies this? This actually comes from the simple what is to what is difference, and see that this is the 40 to 50% saving. And what we did in various pilots and established it, documented it properly, that this is the saving it is coming forward. Now the point is that who is going to invest in that? So in the deemed saving approach, what we saw, if we defined a typical project period of say 6 years or 7 years and put my money there, and I calculate or estimate it like that, the monetized energy saving would be more than what the investment is. For example, that means if I am putting my 100 rupees as an investment and should be paid back, say for example, 100 rupees in 1 year time, that means the savings should be more than 100 rupees to cater to the repayment. And that is what we saw, and we saw that in an average about 60 to 70% is the money which is actually paid back to ESL, because ESL is the investor here, to recover our entire investment. Another 20 to 30% is retained back with the customer or the end user or the municipality. So this became a very win-win proposition. The percentage varies from project to project, case to case, and so on and so forth. But now the point is that ESL is doing this thing. Where are the other ESCO players coming forward, whether they can do this or not? Because we established the business model. Here it is not exactly the energy performance contracting, but the performance contracting. It doesn't mean that ESL municipality does not penalize us if we do not give the proper output or the proper services to them. We call it as a uptime factor. Say 90% of the lights should be on at every point of time. The saving is agreed, 40 to 50% saving would be, and that is on their paper. And they agreed that, okay, the saving will come like this, and they will be paying from that saving. But what about the performance of the lights which are installed there? So that is being catered through a parameter we call that, okay, we will ensure 95% of time at any point of time. Then who is going to measure that? Now the point is that we brought technology there. We connected all the lights to the centralized monitoring system. We call it CCMS system, which actually takes the real-time data of the lights on and off, and these are connected to a dashboard kind of system. So it is a transparent mechanism established which gives the user a real-time information about the performance of the lights, and that is being linked to our payments. That is number one. Number two, any performance-related issue on the products, that I am giving back-to-back to the vendors. So all these ecosystems were developed, the mechanism was developed, and that is operating fine. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll give you one example which we did, then I will not take much time, maybe another couple of minutes. We did one a very simple project in Mahindra and Mahindra, and that project was very, very close to my heart because I was personally involved in that project. It was a 16 crore investment project. We gave it as a package. Package means different solutions. We changed about 1,60,000 number of industrial lights with LED lights. We replaced about 2,400 numbers of air conditioners with, their conventional air conditioners with super efficient air conditioners. The third one was the motors with the IE3 motors, which is energy efficient. And the fourth project was a tri-generation. I'm not touching upon that, but all these three solutions we gave it as a package. And that was the project period was about 1 year. And you can't believe they got the payback period which they get from the energy saving is only 11 months if I take the entire things as a totality. So what it actually gives a message that this kind of interventions can be done with different other industries. Mr. Dhakkar told about the kind of association how they can be a channel partner to the other industrial applications, particularly SME and all. I think that is a great thing. We recently signed a couple of MOUs, one with CII and one with PSD Chamber of Commerce in the last 1 month, just to act as a channel partner to reach out to their member industries where this demand aggregation of this kind of standardized products can be made, and it can be implemented on the business model which ESL is operating. Ladies and gentlemen, we are working in 3 states, which also again, this is a program designed and led by me. This is the utility-based DSM program. We are working in Odisha, we are working in Jharkhand, and we are working in Telangana. The idea here is that here the electricity distribution companies or the DISCOMs, they will act as a channel partner to us to go to different sectors. Here, say for an example, in Jharkhand, we are targeting the industrial sector, and the industrial sector, this program will be launched by October, November, I presume. And this program, for those consumers, industrial consumers, for this kind of solutions, the demand aggregation can be done, and the investment will be done by ESL with an agreed mechanism. The payment recovery mechanism can be suitably developed. So what it actually brings to the table? It brings to the table that there is a DSM regulation, and the DISCOMs has to comply their certain percentage of reduction of their peak demand, which they can achieve through this one of the model. But here the DISCOM is not putting money. Here the money would be, investment would be done by ESL from the already established projects or the programs. That means the business model which has been, or the proof of concept which has been already spelled out, that can be taken care of here. Now the point is that what Dr. Sarkar already highlighted, he spoke about the private ESCOs coming forward and all these things. We're thinking about how to bring them as a special purpose vehicle model. I'm not going to discuss in detail about that, but let me just also complement one word which Mr. Bakre, Director General B, told some time back, that we must create 5 to 6 or 7 number of products. Product means energy efficiency products for the financial institution, for the ESCO. That means precisely he was focusing that there must be a standardized things. Say for an example, whether it is air compressors, or it is VFD, or it is motor, but that product has to be developed. That product means with technical specifications, the contracting arrangement, either with the vendor or with the end user, the host party, and the supplier things and all these things. So that even if an ESCO, by taking this product, goes and asks to the financial institution for a lending, then probably that financial institution will also be in a position to give the lending or give the money in a much quicker way, because it is all, it has been well established in things. So I will stop it here. I would be listening to all the other people who would be who are slated to speak in this things. But this is a wonderful opportunities. There are lots of market opportunities are there. The ESCO things are there. We have learned from our experience. A lot of best practices are in place, and probably if the organizations like Bureau of Energy Efficiency, ESLs, Industry Association, and other think tanks come forward, probably this can be a win-win situation for all of us. Thank you again, and thanks for the opportunity to me.
Darkar Sahab, you are on mute.
Unmute yourself.
We are going to come back to you with more questions. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So may I now invite our chief guest, Mr. Abhay Bakre. We all know he's the Director General of the Bureau of Energy Efficiency, Government of Ministry of Power, Government of India. Mr. Abhay Bakre is a postgraduate MTech in Electrical Engineering from IIT Kharagpur. He has worked in several railway projects, including Delhi Metro and Kolkata Metro extension projects. He represented Ministry of Power in G20 Energy Ministerial Summit in Argentina in 2018 and in Japan 2019. As DG, his priority is to initiate new policies and programs to facilitate climate change mitigation and energy transition in the country. So thank you so much, sir, and we would like to listen to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Pankaj Dharkar, for my introduction. Let me first compliment ASSOCHAM for actually picking up this topic. A very, very important topic. And let me also congratulate my fellow panelist, my close friend Ashok Sarkarji, Mr. Garnayakji, and all other panelists who are joining here. Now, why I said very important topic. Today, everyone, we talk about the current situation, a very, very unique situation. And we are all thinking about how are we actually going to come out. Very briefly, the interactions which have happened, not only between the bilateral or multilateral, even with the kind of the energy ministers at the global level, organized by IEA or even organized by other platform, everyone echoed one very important thing, and that is that when we come out as an economic recovery, when we recover ourselves, where our country comes out, it should be a kind of a green recovery. The green recovery, that means, has actually much more potential to facilitate a kind of recovery which we are talking. Recovery in terms of rebounding our businesses, rebounding our job creation, opportunities, etc. Then why every country is thinking about a green recovery? Why they find so much value in energy transition, the energy efficiency, and the energy conservation? Because they believe this is one area there are lots of opportunity exist, and perhaps we have not tapped much of them. This is where the opportunities are available as it is. And as most of the energy ministers have actually emphasized, we should not come out with a recovery for a new idea, experimenting something new. We should come out with new opportunities which are already proven. And these are the two basic virtues why energy efficiency or energy transition will actually come out as a very, very valuable, a very, very viable option for our overall economic recovery average, whether it is in India or elsewhere. The two specific package: one, a lot of opportunity available, yet to be tapped. Second thing, there are case studies available, there are proven solutions available. It is just the question that who is going to put the money in that, whether the public institution, whether the private institution, or the beneficiary itself. And as Mr. Garnayak has said very clearly, there are available solutions which are proven, which are established, which have been kind of accepted by the authorities, but then we need actually the scaling up. We need actually the ramping up in different areas. Let me start from the industry. The industry, we have already witnessed the PAD 2 cycle outcome, which Honorable Minister released on 25th of this month, that is on Tuesday. We have 13.28 million ton of saving. Now it has happened in the second cycle. This was not the first cycle. In the first cycle, the larger industries have already kind of surpassed their housekeeping measures, the low-hanging fruits. So it is the second cycle where the industry still invested. The investment, what reported by almost 390 consumers, is something around 41,000 crore. So actually there were number of units were 600 units. So it must be more than 50,000 crore investment. Now why they have done it? Definitely because there was a business sense. But then there is a large chunk of group, whether it is the SME sector, medium sector, and there are different category of technologies which are yet to be leveraged. Perhaps they are high-end technologies, proven, but there are not enough kind of cases where the investment has happened. Now, this is one area where, as I said, today's discussion on ESCO has to play a major role. So in short, if I say the ESCOs are actually going to be the main driver for our economic recovery for energy transition, I'm not going to be wrong, because in coming years, if we are going to have more and more energy efficiency solutions, energy efficiency investment projects, and even technology upgradation, they will actually be driven by ESCOs. Because individual beneficiaries, industries are unlikely to do the investment, the kind of opportunity available. Let me give a very simple example. Bureau of Energy Efficiency has done a strategic plan, basically to inform every stakeholder, every authority, every policy maker, and in fact, every ESCO company, the kind of opportunities or the kind of potential available in almost 13 to 14 years, starting from 2017 up to 2031. It comes out to be 1 lakh crore investment opportunity available every year, more than 10 lakh crore opportunity available by 2031. It's a huge amount. And different sectors are given depending on the kind of bottom-up approach, how every sector will behave, how every sector will have its enhanced demand in terms of energy, and how we can have different solutions which can be leveraged to actually save the energy and the investment and the payback period. Now, as Dr. Timothy very rightly said, we need a much more closer and perhaps a detailed look in every solution. Perhaps this is one area where our policymakers or all of us have not done enough homework, that how these ESCOs are actually going to function at ground level. ESL has given case studies. ESL has demonstrated the projects in most of the sectors. There are many more sectors left over, but really have we really come out with kind of a definitive policies at authority level, at beneficiary level, whether it's a municipality, whether it is a housing board, or even large corporates. We have not come out with a very clear guidelines where we can have ESCOs working very smoothly with very much clarity, how he can put money and how he will get return. ESCO is a business at the end, and we need a very clear path for having return from this business. Without that, no ESCO will try to invest. They will not take risk. They will not be able to borrow money from the banks or FIs. So all these things are, now we are left to a point where we need to come out with not only policies, but actually implement guidelines. The implement guidelines maybe sector-wise, maybe authority-wise, maybe for public institutions it could be different, for private sector it could be different, for appliance deployment, for deployment of industrial machinery it could be different, for FIs we have been doing capacity building almost for 3 years. We have trained more than 600 officials, very sincere officials, and they have attended more than 80 programs. Every time we presented them the ESCO benefits, but they could not demonstrate a large number of new projects. The scaling cap is still awaited. So we are at a threshold where we, on one hand, we are very much aspiring for our economic recovery. We want to bounce back our economy. We want our technologies and energy demand to again grow, our appliance demand to grow, our industrial demand to grow. At the same time, when we are expecting every demand to grow, we will have energy demand also to grow. And if it comes out to be a much conserved energy efficient growth, then perhaps the ESCOs have to play a role. And I believe in these opportunities, every government is trying, our government is also trying, and FIs and ESCOs have to come together. We will be very happy to interact with every stakeholder here, every partner, to make success the ESCO program. And we firmly believe the ESCOs will be the main drivers for our energy efficiency movement in the coming years to have our economic recovery. Once again, let me thank ASSOCHAM for such a wonderful interaction webinar, and I look forward for a very fruitful discussion. I'll be happy to see the recommendation out of this webinar. Thank you, Mr. Dharkar. Thank you, ASSOCHAM, for your words. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. I think on behalf of ASSOCHAM, James, really thanks to you for sparing your time for this evening. And We love that you are there when eminent panelists start discussing, and we would of course send you our request to the team members. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Next friend, we are starting our panel discussion, and my first question goes to my most dear friend from air conditioning industry, Mr. Kaval Java Saab. Mr. Kavaljit Java is an admired person world over with his contribution to air conditioning industry. Mr. Java is a veteran in air conditioning industry with 4 decades of experience. As president of Daikin Japanese Institute of Manufacturing Excellence, he is supporting and spearheading Indo-Japan collaborative initiative in India on behalf of Daikin. He is an active member of RAMA, and he sits on advisory board of Lal Bahadur Shastri College of Management. He knows the business acumen, innovative ideas, people-centric leadership. Mr. Java is truly admired activist, and of course, over and above, a very dear friend of Ishre and our team. So next, Amit ji. So my question to you that we just saw presentation of Garnayak ji also, the lighting consumes 6 to 8% of building total energy consumption, whereas HVAC consumes 40 to 50% of energy. Even though we have seen several successful models of EPC in ESCO in lighting replacement, a very few in HVAC. So what strategy should HVAC companies opt so that this model will be workable for HVAC also? Over to you, sir.
Well, thank you, sir. I think this is a very pertinent question. Yeah, I agree with this point that 40 to 50% energy goes to the cooling side. And as you may be knowing, we have tried to address this with this super efficient air conditioner program. And we are trying to reach out to the institutional consumers with this. And what we have gone through a ISER value of more around 5.4 in this particular product. So we're trying to create a market transformation and demand so that the price can be as competitive as possible. Say, for example, 20 to 25% less price, so that a consumer can afford to this. And we are again adopting this ESCO model or even a upfront payment model, depending upon the consumer. That's one point, sir. The other point I just bring to the audience here is that we are almost completed the designing of the program, what we call it as a national chiller replacement program. So this is the program. We did one chiller replacement program in Niti Aayog 2 years back, and that was a completely successful program. And keeping that in the background, we are now trying to keep it, bring it as a national program, and where we are trying to go with the up to 300 tonnage of air conditioners, which are in the centralized cooling system that can be replaced.
Thank you, Garnayak Saab. Thank you for that update. We are really delighted that chillers and HVAC industries getting attention. So this question was to Mr. Java, of course.
Yes. I think
apologies.
I think I must compliment you, Mr. Dharkar, for your efforts, because today you are not doing work only on energy efficiency. I think it is a nation building, and the fact that you could get so many panelists from across the world, this is a big compliment. And I think Mr. Garnayak has given half of the answer already, and I'm very happy that you could get Mr. Bakre also, who's actually the driving this bee in the country with full passion. And I fully echo that, what he said, that India is standing at a threshold. If you just compare the China versus India, I mean, China produces probably 110 million air conditioners, and India produces only India probably consumes 7 million in a year, and out of which 3.5 million still comes from China. And unlike lighting, the penetration of AC is much lower. And one of the, I think, barrier, apart from many other barrier, is energy efficiency. Because we have all seen that, when you and I were working in Voltas 40 years back, probably, the air conditioner used to consume 14 amperes current for 1.5 ton air conditioners. And today, with the efforts of BE, with the effort of ESL, and with the efforts of many stakeholders, which I can see today, that the probably ISCR 5.4 we are talking. We are also talking about global cooling price. I mean, out of 8 winners, probably 3 were from India. So I think we are standing at the cusp of this growth. Air conditioner also has now come as a priority sector in the Prime Minister list, but at the same time, I think that there is a need that this is the best time for this collaborative effort, which many of my earlier panelists have said. Time is short, so I will keep my answers simple and short. Organized AC replacement program should be there in country, which can focus on providing affordability to consumers with a step-by-step approach. Like Mr. Garnaik said, standardized products. I think air conditioner should be taken the first, because this 7 million is going to become 13 million in the next 5 years. That is a very conservative figure, because we are competing with China on populations, and on air conditioners, we are very small, not even 1/10. Approached, as far as price is concerned, this can be made possible through the ESCO model, which has been given. Rather than increasing efficiency every 2 to 3 years, which burden the manufacturer, we should focus on providing health comfort by adding features like air purification, streamer discharge, etc., so that the consumer gets comfortable and healthy living environment. We have been talking about these tax slabs on high efficient air conditioner with the power ministry, with the finance ministry, with DPIT, and one day I think people will listen to that also, that that will actually bring the middle class consumer who aspire to have an AC can buy 5-star AC with highest ISCR. ISCR 5.4 is an example in the world. Probably today we have a capability and we have the capacities. This is probably the best time, because many of the Japanese companies who had earlier made investments in China are looking at India in a big way. Or in terms of R&D centers, in terms of AI, IoT, in terms of innovation, today India has probably the global standards, which is again efforts of BEP and ESL. Major challenge in that, what my friend Garnaik said, that critical components like VFD, BLDC, motor, compressors, aluminiums are still imported, and there has been a lot of dependency on these critical components, which has also been now getting covered by PLI and PMP. The government is very receptive onto that, and industry is working in that direction. With this complete ecosystem changing, I think, and also the export-friendly policy, the manufacturing of ACs have to be relaxed by easing policies to make and promote in India policy decision to ban substandard products, which to a large extent, I think before 2011-12, when the B did not launch the labeling, I mean, we all know that all substandard products were being sold. Even still, some are being sold, which I think we should stop it, and we should look at. Otherwise, there is going to be a big problem for future. Current situation, maybe BE and ESL can handle, but imagine when the air conditioning market explodes, and that time you cannot sell inefficient chillers and inefficient products. So the products like VRV and all has to be promoted with the policies, standards. India should be considered as a next export hub, especially considering that there is a pushback in China by several countries. Japanese companies are closing their manufacturing plants in China. Apple also planning shutdown. I was just before this meeting with Niti Aayog chief, Mr. Amitabh Kant, and he said during COVID, probably in the world, we have got the highest FDI, $38 billion during this period. So we should seize this opportunity, and the opportunity can only be seized when we all work together. Consultants, experts like you, associations like ACCREDITATION, associations like SHM, CII, and the government agencies, because without government agencies, nothing can move. We have seen in the past that government does very little and very late, but I think today I am happy to say that this meeting basically now have been happening at a very short intervals. Everybody is working on the common goal. So even my colleagues who have panelist colleagues who are talking from US, they should look at that and seize this opportunity with the collaborative effort. we have the capacity, we have the skill, we have the scale, and we have to now work together for sustainability to develop world-class products. Like I said that, when global cooling price was announced by Virgin Atlantic chief, there were more than 220 entries, 108 countries. And I'm happy to share that 3 out of 8 finalists were from India. So you can imagine that how Indian engineers are capable to produce the world-class products, world-class facilities. And I'm sure that, with these kind of efforts, what ASSOCHAM has taken, ESCO today, maybe, because other colleagues are going to talk about that, what is the ESCO model, because I don't have a detailed presentation here because I was told the time is short. And but let me tell you, in Japan, in America, in Europe or in China, whatever ESCO model you are having, in next few years, you will see that happening in India also, maybe to start with on the, some standard products, which Mr. Bakre has his vision. With his people, he's trying to get that executed with a lot of perseverance, with a lot of passion. And I want to thank him for the support which he has been giving as a leader from the front. I also want to thank ASSOCHAM. I also want to thank Mr. Sarkar. I also want to thank all the panelists for joining us in this. So when Mr. Darkar spoke to me about 1 month back, I said, yes, I think time has come where we all should take the lead, and this should be not the first meeting. We are committed and we are confident that this will be a successful model. Thank you.
Unmute yourself, Darkar sir.
Jawla Saab, for that inspiring and energetic message to all of us. You are always doing that in life, so welcome to you. My next question goes to my dear friend Richi Mittal. He is president of ISCRE. Richi is a director of Overdrive Engineers, a very passionate ISCRE member. He is also director at IAQA. He is national president on the board of ISCRE, IAQA, a regional council member for ASHRE, and in technical committee of GRIHA and technical advisor to TERI. So, Richi, I have 2 quick questions. I know you have another presentation coming up. So, how do you see energy performance contracting future in HVAC industry, and how will EPC help business opportunities, and how ISCRE is exploring EPC to as a roadmap, and what are the advantages in measurement and instrumentation are a positive step? How can we create awareness in end customer and building owners towards establishing a common datum against the performance which could be measured in unbiased manner? So there are 2 questions I have bundled up. My apologies, but it is for you to quickly push off. So thank you so much.
So first of all, I think, Pankaj sir, it's a great topic, and I think it is the hottest topic being talked all over the world. And thank you for having us. And as you said, in pandemic time, when, I don't see new projects coming in, there are people are struggling for new projects. I think this is the time for air conditioning industry to come up with this model. I know there are a lot of companies who are offering this facility of ESCO model for replacing their chillers in the market. There are a lot of private companies which are doing so. And in this pandemic, I think if we can market it better, I see the potential is very large. And the platform that you're giving, I think that's the best thing to do. We have to reach to the market. And I see Mr. Bakre and I know Mr. Gannayak has been on this model, and they're very close to model also, which will be up in the market. But, a lot of private companies which I see, they are not in a position to, kind of bear the cost of replacing a chiller which is non-efficient, I would say, which has a very low COP value. But companies, they are not aware that there are companies who are offering a chiller with a high COP value on a ESCO model. So I see that as a very large scope, and I'm with you. I think this is a good way to reach to people, to let them know that high efficiency chillers are available, high efficiency systems are available, and that could be incorporated. The most important is measurement and verification, because that is a baseline which has to be set to work on this model. And I know Mr. Gannayak will be talking about this model. And as far as ISCRE is concerned, ISCRE is already part and helping technical front with ESL. And we will be definitely looking at this on the issue front on how to involve ourselves to give us more on a measurement and verification on any other technical support that you would like, or as a like, or anybody for that matter would like for us to offer. And that is what I have to say on these 2 points. But going ahead, I think awareness is the most important thing. And without awareness, we don't think we can move anywhere. And Pankaj sir, I would thank again that not everybody, and I'm happy to see Ajay Bhakar sir and Ganayak sir, and also, all the leaders of our industry, Mr. Java, Mr. Chirag, Mr. Papat. So, I'm sure they are also moving in this direction of going into ESCO model on their own. If government policy is there, I'm sure we can do much, much better. And I see a big scope, and all the contractors who are working in our industry, they have an opportunity. They can tap, they are dealer and distributor of this big company. They can talk to the customer instead of replacing a chiller on the new basis. They can go on ESCO model with the support from World Bank also, and ESL. So thank you, sir. I hope I'm able to answer the question that you want. Thank you.
Thank you, Richie, and thank you for supporting ASSOCHAM from ISHRE Forum. We are looking forward. This is just beginning.
Absolutely,
as I said, this is the first meeting on this subject, and we will have a good series happening. And we are really delighted as again presence of World Bank leaders and also NASCOM and Ajay Bhakar Saab and ESL. So I think our joint cooperation will show the direction in future. Thank you, Richie. My next speaker and very dear friend, Chirag Baijal. Chirag is a managing director of commercial HVAC in India region for